Hey everybody, I'm Anna McEwen. And now for Bob Switzer with the epic narrative.
And we're back and recording. Look at us go through season 5. Man, this is fun. All right. We are on episode 29. 29. That is awesome. And you guys are fabulous for hanging out during this entire season. Although I'm guessing some of you are binging and you'll probably be done in just a few more hours. Anyways, hope you all are having a great day. We are in Judges 16. We're talking about Samson, and we ended let me read where we're going to be, and then we'll just talk. All right. So verse 1, one day Samson went to Gaza, where he saw a prostitute. He went and spent the night with her. The people of Gaza were told, Samson is here. So they surrounded the place and laid in wait for him all night at the city gate. They made no move during the night, saying, at dawn we will kill him. But Samson lay there only until the middle of the night. Then he got up and he took hold of the doors of the city gate, together with the 2 posts, and tore them loose, bar and all. He lifted them on his shoulder, carried them to the top of the hill that faces Hebron, which is, I guess, about 10 miles uphill. All right. So last week we ended with that very sad verse where it says, and he ruled Israel for 20 years. And that's all we get, right? There's no like this massive following of the Hebrews. There's no sign of popular support. There's just this kind of consistency that we see in his life, that he's selfish, he's arrogant, and he's alone. And I was talking with my beautiful wife about Samson, and she just, being a mom, just thought about raising him as a child. Like, you have a child that's set apart, and you know it, and he's got this weird vow that he has to obey. And she thought, think of the things that he was told he couldn't do because he was special, right? Parties he couldn't go to, food he couldn't eat, even though all his friends or, cousins were eating them, because they were, that's an extremely family-oriented culture. That's the word I'm looking for. So all his cousins are eating, all of his, they're at, as we've already covered before, there's a party every month in the Hebrew calendar. So every month there's parties going on, and don't forget, Samson's coming. Got to have the special diet for Samson. Samson's special. You could kind of picture that whole thing. And of course, at some level, he's arrogant, but at another level, he's incredibly lonely and he's self-protecting, which is not unusual for arrogant, prideful people to be. He doesn't want to be hurt. He tried to be close to people. His parents told him he couldn't get near certain people because, their reputation, the family has a reputation, and you're special. You can't go there. You got to be careful. So he didn't, I don't know, what he was attracted to as far as the Philistine women go, but that's clearly a pattern that we see. We just read a few verses. He's looking for him again. He's not the only Hebrew guy that was looking for a Philistine wife or lover for that matter. And some of that maybe comes from the fact that no one in his tribe really wanted to line up anything with him. They didn't know, judges demand a lot of attention. And maybe they didn't want their daughter being connected to him. Maybe because of self-protection and all the ugliness that went along with it. Maybe people were like, yeah, just not sure we're going to line up our daughter with your son. But we see the pattern. He fights battles alone. And there's no record of any good things other than killing Philistines all by himself. And when we look at his prayer requests, they're very selfish. But God is good, right? He didn't leave him. God's still there. He still has the gifts that God bestowed on him. God doesn't give gifts and then take it away, despite what the worship song talks about. That's an old song, too, now. I remember singing that. Good grief. What was that, 15 years ago at camp? Anyways, so what we get there in verse 1 is one day. So during his 20 years, he wanders down to a Philistine city. And guess what? He's alone. Shocking, isn't it? He wanders down and he's recognized by everyone, but he doesn't care. He doesn't care if he was seen. I don't know if he was depressed. I don't know if he was ignorant. I don't know if he was arrogant. Maybe all of the above. What did he think? Of course they're going to recognize him. He goes down to a Philistine city. He had no one to be with in his tribe. That part is a question. Like, he had no one? Really? He didn't have an administrative assistant? He didn't have a required friend? Somebody, a military, I don't know, it doesn't have to be a general or whatever, just somebody who was like, he could look at it and say, hey, why don't you come with me? I want to go down to Gaza, check things out. I don't know. No city, no town, no area in all of the Hebrew connections that he had that he felt comfortable going to. Maybe it's because everyone had expectations of him, right? Again, going back to his childhood, everyone telling him how special he was, how he was going to be the deliverer of the nation, and how after almost 20 years of rulership, guess what? The Philistines still oppress them. He hasn't done his job. Maybe he didn't want to wander around anywhere in the Hebrew townships and clans because he didn't want to keep hearing, hey, when are you going to free us from the Philistines? Hey, when are you going to take care? You know, you're the promised one. You're the judge. We put you in charge. You killed 1,000 of them with a jawbone. Blah, blah, blah. Well, it's been 20 years, big fella. Do something. I mean, around here we get, right, if your team wins, if your NFL team wins a Super Bowl and your quarterback gets a big paycheck, what do you want? Another Super Bowl? 2 or 3 or 4 of them if you can. I mean, unless you're the Patriots from back in the day, I don't know if that's possible anymore, but just saying, we can hang on to that 1,000-man wipeout. That was pretty impressive, but what have you done for me lately? Maybe that's why he was alone. Maybe that's why he wandered down there. He wouldn't meet up with anybody who would demand anything of him. Now, Gaza was a place maybe he felt like he could be around some people and he could be free of that kind of expectation. Nobody would really care what he did. He'd be recognized, yeah, sure, but he'd be left alone, and he likes being alone. Maybe he wanted some food. Maybe he wanted some drink. Maybe he just wanted to look at people and not feel the pressure of having to lead them. I mean, technically, he should be, he could be down there, and the Philistines could be saying, hey, this guy's a threat. Like, he's the judge. He's the one who's supposed to wipe us out. But after 20 years of leadership and nothing happening, they had no fear of Samson. They were like, whatever, he's in town. Let's just keep an eye on him. So he saw a prostitute. Probably this girl was connected with a temple. It was not unusual culturally. It was very normal. Actually, it was a pathway for girls. They would be considered, religious. They'd be considered, holy. It wasn't like if you became a temple prostitute and then, you could never be married later. It was usually, if you weren't promised to another family already as a wife, then you just could be a temple prostitute for a little while. It's kind of a weird thing. I guess potentially it could have been like a brothel situation, but probably not. But the phrase or the word he saw her equals, this is pretty intense. The word is to gaze, to observe, to learn about, to give attention to find out the information. So it wasn't one of these things where he was like walking along and he saw this street corner chick or, temple prostitute chick and it was like, I got to have her. It was a long-standing stare. It was an observation. Maybe he sat down and got some Turkish tea at a cafe, and he just sat there and he observed her, and he found her attractive, and he inquired information. That's what you learn about. You give attention to. He gathered information about her. Maybe what she cost, maybe where she operated out of, what it would take if she would take a Hebrew person, that sort of thing is stuff he might ask. Now, he could have kept walking, but he stopped. He spent time. He liked what he saw, and he went in to spend the night. He paid for the whole night. He wanted to do more than just do it. And when you've been lonely and rejected, one of the main things that is attractive about paid companionship is it gives the illusion of being connected. It gives the illusion that somebody wants you and that you are in relationship. It gives the illusion of relationship. Thank you, Bob. I knew eventually I'd get to the word. Now that's something that my understanding is, I've never been to a strip club, but my understanding is that's what often happens there. There's this illusion. The dancers are paid to make you think that they are there for you, that they are connected to you. And of course, in that connection, they expect you to pay them really well. I hear the story. I've seen it in movies. I've never been there. But it makes sense to me. So he pays for the night. He wants to spend the night. Now, this information, of course, was out in the town. He was known in the town. Everybody knew where he was. They knew where the girl lived out of. They knew where she operated out of. They knew that he had paid for the whole night. And they were like, well, let's kill him. Again, do they see him as an untouchable person? No. I mean, yes, there is a story, and some people claim that they were there, that 20 years ago he killed 1,000 men, but he's older now. And he's by himself. And nobody in Israel is seen as a threat. Like they don't look at this and say, listen, if we kill him, the armies of Judah are going to come down here and we'll be in big trouble. No, there's no mention of that. It's just this idea that he's a lone wolf. He's chosen a prostitute to spend the night with. He's paid for the whole night. Let's just wait for him. And in the morning, he'll get up and he'll wander out. We'll have the place surrounded. What's he going to do? So they wait at the gate. We will kill him in the morning in ambush. Oh, ho, ho. And they hide all around the gate. Now, Samson is laying there, and I don't know if he's tossing and turning. I don't know if this was part of the plan, but he gets up at midnight. He was going to go home. Now, he knows the gates are closed. So maybe his plan, at midnight was, I'll just break the gate. I'll just tear it down. God's given me this strength. I'll use it to what? Oh, to my advantage. Again, not an unusual situation for a lot of people who have been given incredible talents and authority by God. They use it for their own. That's doesn't mean God takes it away, because he's good and he only gives good gifts. And if he took stuff away when you misused it, then it's not a gift and he's a manipulator. And that's not what he is. So he gets up, he wanders down the street, and when he gets there, the gate's closed. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes saying, what was I talking about? Now, I don't know if the prostitute woke up or not. I mean, part of what she's being paid for is for him to believe the lie that he's wanted and loved and attractive and all that stuff. So I don't know what went on. I I would think that she'd be somewhat awake and aware of whether or not he left the building. Was she aware that the guys of the city were going to kill him? Maybe. Maybe that's why she didn't chase after him. Maybe that's why she didn't care. I'm sorry. Maybe guys often paid for the night and didn't spend the night. So when he got up to the left, it was kind of like, well, good. I don't have to sleep with him the rest of the night. I can finally get some rest. I have no idea. But there he was, wandering down. He wanted to believe. He's laying there, I think, before he left. He wanted to be adored. He wanted to be liked by the Philistines. He wanted to believe he was invincible to bad decisions. And I think as he's putting that all through his head, he's like, I can't. I don't know. I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. Sometimes in the middle of when you're in self-deception, you have moments of self-awareness. And maybe he's laying there and he's been, quote, open and vulnerable with this prostitute. And he's had a good time. That was her job to have, they had a good time. But now, maybe she is sleeping. And he's just like, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know why I'm still here. What am I going to do in the morning? I'm not going to pay for another day. Eventually, I'm just going to go home. I've got to get out of here. Now, he gets up. Like I said, walking down the street. I kind of picture him personally in like an internal rage. He's angry at himself. He's angry at the fact that the Israelites don't love him. He's upset that the Philistines rejected him years ago and they still don't like him, even though he hasn't done anything to provoke them for 20 years. He's been the leader of Israel and he's done nothing. Why can't I come down to Gaza and just have a good time? So I don't know where all these guys were sleeping around the gate, but they clearly were sleeping pretty good because this guy shows up early morning, middle of the night type of thing, and these men were not ready. Now, granted, it's hard to see at night, but when Samson starts rattling the doors, if you're sleeping by the gate, I would think at some level you got to have some awareness that there's noises going on that are unusual in the middle of the night. I mean, my wife and I, we live in an RV currently. And you get used to certain noises at RV parks. There's people who get up, they walk their dogs. You get used to other people's dogs who bark. There's always somebody who has to double click their lock button to beep their horn at when they get home from work or when they get up in the morning to leave at 5:00. And you hear it every day, and you think, really, guys? You live in an RV park. You got to make sure everybody knows you're leaving. You got to honk your horn. Anyways, that's just me. That's a personal story. But I can't imagine. I really can't imagine how sleepy these guys were. They had to be drunk as well. I don't know, man. That's just there's just no way that they were sleeping that close. So Sam grabs the door. Now, if you're one of these guys and you kind of sort of wake up, they see, maybe one or two of them wake up. They see Sam come to the door and grab it. Now, maybe they're thinking, hey, we're going to get him. Like he's got nowhere to go. The doors are locked. Now we can get around him. And they see him grab the bars, the big bar, the big stick that goes across both doors. Maybe he just starts pulling and pushing on this door. Now, a lot of people who try to get out of the gate in the middle of the night would do that, right? Bang on the door, cry, rock back and forth. Hey, let me out. They're angry. They're upset. They're being chased by someone. They're trying to get out. You're not moving it, right? So maybe these guys are awake. Maybe they're just super confident that they have him surrounded. And maybe that's what's going on. I can picture that as well. Samson shows up at the gate. These guys wake up and they kind of slowly come out in the dark. They stay in the shadows, but they're starting to form a half circle around him because he is pinned in. And he knows that they're there. And he feels the power of the Lord come upon him. And he just starts pulling on this big old bar. And he maybe pops, something. And people are like, the guys are like, whoa, 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 what's he doing? What is going on? And then he pushes the door. And maybe the hinges start to crack a little bit out of the stone. And he pulls again. And the creaking and the popping and the breaking start to occur. And then he pushes and the doors are not just the doors are bending inward, but the posts that are attached to the stones start to pull out from the stones. Now, if you're part of that half circle, you're watching what he's doing, you're freaking out because this is virtually in your brain, this is virtually impossible what's going on. And if your big plan was to fight him, push him down to the ground and then beat him to death, if that was your plan, which probably it was because obviously no one shot an arrow at him or threw a spear at him or slung a rock at him, which probably would have been a better plan. Their plan was to beat him to death so that they could be heroes, probably. Now they're watching this and you're thinking, I'm not, no way I'm jumping on that dude. Look at what he is doing to our city gate. And he pulls a little bit more and the gates start to break free and he pushes. Now the hinges the posts are popping completely out of the rock and the hinges are also bent. I mean, at this point, the doors are never going to be the same. They abandon their plan. They kind of are freaking out. They don't want to go anywhere near them. And finally, the door, the gate, the post, and everything comes down. It had to be a crazy loud noise in the middle of the night. Crazy. Dust, stone, stone fragments, metal, wood splintered. And these gates probably just slammed and bounced on the ground outside the city wall. Now, if you're still standing there and he just did this and he turns around and looks at you, this is the way I picture the movie, right? He turns around, looks at you, and he goes, as if to say, do you all want to fight now? Do you want to try and stop me from leaving? Did any of you have a plan to do something, or were you going to wing it? Would any of you like to go outside tonight? Because the door's open. And you kind of pictured them to kind of, maybe a few of them that are still left just shaking their head. I mean, they're wide-eyed. They definitely don't want to say anything. Maybe after that big noise, a few other people stick their head out the door or out their window. Maybe a few people come running down the street wanting to know what just happened, what that big crash was. I mean, there had to be more than just a few people. And I don't know if that's when Samson decided to do this, but he looks at the door, and evidently the post, because the post in that middle beam that goes across the two doors were probably all connected. It was basically one big piece. And he decided to get himself under there. He lifted it up. He turned around. He started backing under the doors. That's what I picture anyways, right? He kind of gets to the middle where it's kind of balanced, and he leg presses this thing off the ground. Maybe he has his hands kind of behind him to kind of keep it from flopping, and he just starts walking. I don't know if he had a plan, how far he was going to walk, where he was going to walk, but at some level, I mean, again, pretty impressive. You're watching somebody who just tore the only thing that keeps marauders from running into your city in the middle of the night. He not only knocked it down, which would have involved a major repair job, he's just walking away with it, and nobody's stopping him. Like, nobody's even asking him. Maybe right up next to him on a donkey. Hey, Samson, listen, great plan here. Really funny. We'd like to keep the door, though. Could we keep the door? They're just watching him. And he walks. My understanding is it was slightly uphill for about 10 miles. And then he just dumps it. Moves his arms a little bit, kind of stands up a little bit. The doors hit the ground behind him, and he just walks his way out in the front, and boom, bang, boom. It bounces on the ground. And then he leaves, goes home. Some people believe that this thing weighed anywhere from a half a ton to 4 tons. And I know we don't really ever know, but it was a lot. I don't know if you've ever walked 10 miles with something on your back that was really heavy. Some of you guys in the military probably have. 80-pound pack plus an extra 20 pounds of gear. You know, you're looking at 100 or more pounds of stuff that some of our guys in the military have to carry, and they have to carry it for miles. I get it. I don't get it in that I didn't ever have to do it. But, you know, I've walked with a backpack. I've hiked mountains with backpacks and camped out for days. Like there's a weight to it. You know, your heart is pumping. But I mean, this guy just picked it up and walked tons, a half ton to 4 tons of weight. And then he just leaves it on top of a hill. And I've seen the cartoon pictures that you get to color in Sunday school, and it looks really funny, and people laugh and mock the Philistines, and I mean, I get it. To a lot of people, Samson's a hero to be admired, but again, he did this all alone. He did it because he was down with a prostitute, and I think he just got really upset with himself, feeling rejected and alone again, trying to be vulnerable with a woman, but she was paid to sound like she was interested, to look like she was interested. And he let himself be fooled by the display for a while, by the drama. But in the end, it's like, she's lying. I paid her to lie. This is my fault. What am I doing here? I'm going home. And who did he go home to? Ha ha, nobody. And I'm sure the story spread early in the morning as merchants and traders came into the city, and they looking around. There's no gate. Farmers showed up early for the market, wait for the gate to open so they could find the best spot in the marketplace. And sure enough, there's no gate. They just walk on in. It had to be fascinating for people to be like, what happened here last night? And what do you say? Well, this guy, Samson, you know him. Yeah, he stopped by last night. He slept with Matilda. She's over there. But about halfway through the night, he decided to go home, and he just broke the gate down. And people are looking at the damage. I'm sure the elders of the city probably were, on it first thing in the morning, because as politicians, they always want to seem like they got the answers. So they had some tradesmen building new posts and reattaching, and other people that went down to get the door. They had to unlock the door, then they had to use whatever, probably oxen, disconnect the hinges from the post, so bring the post down. They had to reattach the post. They had to figure out how to extend the door a little bit, build an extension on the post so that the door would fit again, repurpose everything, fix broken. I mean, they had all kinds of activity going on. Hopefully they could get it all done in a day, because nobody wanted the whole city to be vulnerable all night. Word was going to spread pretty quick. But none of that, I guess you could say, was Samson's problem as far as he was concerned. No, he just realized that his life is not going the way he had hoped it had. And he still has nobody. But now we're going to head into one of the famous stories through all of time, Samson and Delilah. Next week on The Epic Narrative.
Don't go anywhere. We've got Bob Thoughts.
All right. So I feel nervous because it's like we're about to send out the recording for this week. And this is the closest I think I've ever done a Bob Thoughts, because, man, it's been amazing. We showed up in Boys Ranch, Texas, to work at an organization called Cal Farley's Boys Ranch. And you'd say, well, did they name the town after? No, he literally got the town as a gift by a local rancher who owned it. It wasn't Boys Ranch at the time. It was, didn't name it anyways. It was literally an old Western town. It was the first town that you'd come to do the cattle drive up to the upper plains in Colorado, etc. And it was the last town you'd come to when you were done. So it was like legit, outlaws, in-laws. It was pretty awesome. There's a couple original buildings still here. Anyways, an amazing history of a businessman who started a boys club in town for kids that were just hanging out, had nothing to do. And then he was like, what happens to them on holidays? What happens to them when we're not open? Some of these guys really just need a family environment. So he started this place. It's called Boys Ranch, and they do have girls, and there are those who want it to be called Boys and Girls Ranch. But that's another, I'm sure that's way beyond my pay grade at this point. But anyways, it's a beautiful place. They keep it beautifully landscaped. It has everything. When the students come in, they have housing. Everybody gets their own room, their own bathroom. Each house has 2 house parents that split the time. So we all work 4 days, and then we combine a day together, and we all have 3 days off, and not at the same time, of course, but you create this family environment for them to grow and connect in. Highly relational, Christ-centered, non-doctrinally demanding or theologically, you must agree to this statement of faith in order to exist, or you are sent into the everlasting desert around us. It is the middle of nowhere. It is. It's 45 minutes north of Amarillo. And you just drive through the high plains of Texas. It's actually beautiful. I'm every time I drive, I think, man, this is really beautiful country. it's, even though, I don't know, I didn't expect it. I grew up in New England, grew up on the East Coast all this time. And so I'm used to mountains and sharp curves. There's no sharp curves out here. About the only sharp curve there is when you come to the end of a road, you have to take a hard right or a hard left, and that's it. Oh, anyways, a lot of excitement here. Very looking forward very much to integrating with the lives of the kids that we'll be a part of. We were selected, and some would say otherwise. We look at it as a privilege. At one of probably the toughest group emotionally to work with, and that is the young guys. So we're with boys ages 6 to 12 who in normal circumstances have trouble regulating, have trouble with their emotions. They have a lot of trouble. If you have a boy who's between the ages of 5 to 12, 5 to 13, generally what we get is 6 to 12, but we can get them as young as 5 and as old as 13. You just know. And then you add on top of that the trauma that's been a part of their lives. Currently, the home that we'll be going into full time, we're currently in training, but of the 6 boys, 5 of them were adopted and then given up and given to the ranch. None of the students here are in state custody. None of these students' families are being charged a thing. Everything's provided for them. So they have elementary school, middle school, high schools. Again, it looks like a college campus. They have a big chapel. They have multiple sports. They have a beautiful gym, a beautiful fine arts building. They have ponds all over that are stocked for kids to go fishing. They take good care of them. Oh, they have a clinic. They have paramedics on campus that are dispatched from, quote, a local town 35 miles away. They have EMS. They have security, i.e. police force. They have clinic, what are they called? Caseworkers live on campus, work, file. They're all licensed. Like it's impressive. And we're probably one of the only people here who haven't had some interaction with this place before coming back to work here. People are like, how'd you get here? I'm like, honestly, I saw an ad online and thought it would be something we could do. And man, it's just tapping into so much of what we love to do. But we know it's not an easy job. It's not an easy job to, quote, parent 8 kids of that age that have been through trauma. And some of them multiple traumas, multiple rejections, multiple adoptions. It's not going to be easy. So keep us in prayer. Of course, I can't tell you too much about, everybody because of legal reasons, but just know that we're here. You can write to me privately, as you know, and ask specific questions, and I'll tell you what I can. You'll probably get periodic updates as we go along, just because it's very exciting work. It's very, very exciting. Oh, glory. Pray for us. Hey, and honestly, if you could help us out with the costs of doing the podcast, that would be awesome. That would really, really be helpful. You can private message me on that, or you can, we have Zelle, we have PayPal, and I do Apple Pay. So if you want to do any of those, again, reach out. I'll give you the specific connection point, and you can send whatever you can. It would be fabulous to have your help to keep this going. All right. Thanks, everyone. See you next week on The Epic Narrative. I almost forgot to do that one. Bob's like, hello.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, you can subscribe to this podcast on any platform you use. You can also reach out to Bob for questions or booking at thebobswitzer.com or email him at thebobswitzer@gmail.com. See you next week, guys.